All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about Mastercard because apparently Mastercard is coping and seething. And I mean that literally. I'm not just talking out of my ass here. Mastercard is actually coping and seething right now because they had to finally, after who knows how long of nonstop calls to their company and Visa as well, they had to put out a statement to supposedly clarify recent headlines on gaming content. This is Mastercard's way of trying to clarify their supposed truth over what actually happened with Steam and itch.io taking down not safe for work games. Now, before I even read this headline personally, I already knew this was going to be BS right from the start. There was no way that a company like Mastercard, with a documented history of payment processor censorship that many people have exposed, including Madam Savvy, who we've covered extensively, Mastercard puts out this statement knowing damn well they don't mean a single word of it, but we're going to read it anyway. On top of that, we also have a post from Kiwi Farms as well, showing that Kotaku actually received a response from Valve confirming that it was actually the payment processors and acquiring banks, and cited Mastercard as the reason why there was a ban on adult games. We got some comments from Savvy as well that we got to go over. We got some more comments from Savvy. And on top of that, we also got some other comments from a person called Haley that we are going to go over as well, going a little bit deeper into Melinda Tankard's history. So there's a lot to go over here, boys. So stick around, grab some popcorn, like the video, and help it get out there as we continue to cover this censorship debacle. So, clarifying recent headlines on gaming content from good old Mastercard, the good boys over there at Mastercard that do no wrong. Mastercard has not evaluated any game or required restrictions of any activity on game creators' sites and platforms, contrary to media reports and allegations. Our payment network follows standards based on the rule of law. Put simply, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure MasterCard cards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. Well, here's the thing, motherfuckers. You guys had a problem with non-illegal adult content. If the content was illegal, Steam would not have allowed it to be on their platform in the first place. Same with the other platforms. You guys are the ones that are trying to be the dictators to determine what's legal and what's not illegal. You are, in fact, trying to bypass the law. You are, in fact, trying to, put out a form of censorship. You're the one trying to remain in control. The beautiful thing about all this is there's a beautiful community note on this particular post with Mastercard, because of course there is. Why would there not be a community note on this? It says both Steam and itch.io have stated that their removal of adult content came from the pressure by payment processors, including Mastercard themselves. Furthermore, Mastercard and other payment processors have a documented history of refusing service to Japanese retailers over legal adult fictional content. And they're talking about the anime, the manga community, and how all that was being affected and still is being affected till this day. So this entire post is complete and utter bullshit. Like, the entire post is bullshit, which we already knew that was going to be the case. I commented and I said, nice gaslight. You guys pressured companies to take down legal adult content. Period. It's not illegal just because it makes you feel uncomfortable. If what you said is true, then these platforms should bring back the newly taken down content with absolutely zero issues on your end whatsoever. That got 1.1K likes. Reb says, Desu says, resorting to blatant gaslighting now, huh? Yeah, they're nervous. Keep up the pressure. I agree. Grum says, why do you require Stripe to enforce stricter standards than yourself? Itch.io stated that you and Visa put pressure on Stripe to ban content otherwise deemed legal. Can you explain that? They're never going to explain that, by the way. Real Life Fake Wizard says that's a whole lot of corporate speak to say nothing. If that was supposed to make people trust you, you failed. Fire the social media intern that made this post on Canva. And then Smash JT says, imagine thinking you could gaslight at this point instead of being honest and just simply backtracking. This is actually insane. You guys have let power go to your head. It may work with the rest of business, but not and will never work with gamers. Try again. Levistro even says, too, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. So you say that you don't need to require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure MasterCard cards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. That's what the cops and courts are for. So everybody's absolutely destroying them, right? It disgusting says the community note showcases that this is, in fact, a lie. People are ruining MasterCard right now, and it's very clear how many views this has. This has 1.7 million views right now on X with almost 6,000 comments, 1,200 bookmarks. It's absolutely insane. Now, let's go over to something even more interesting, because you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's not enough evidence. I need more evidence. Okay, fine. Not a problem. Kiwi Farms over here on X says the following. Kotaku has received an official response from Valve, which, by the way, Steam and Valve have been very quiet over what was the reason why they had to get rid of the not safe for work games. I find it interesting that all these companies are finally speaking up once they realize that the people are on their side, right? But anyway, they received a response from Valve confirming that it was indeed payment processors and acquiring banks, and cited Mastercard network rules as justification for banning adult games. If you look here, let's look at this entire screenshot here from Kiwi Farms. It says, updated on 8/1/2025, 4:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In a statement to Kotaku, a spokesperson for Valve said that while Mastercard did not communicate with it directly, concerns did come through payment processor and banking intermediaries. They said payment processors rejected Valve's current guidelines for moderating illegal content on Steam, citing Mastercard's rule of 5.12.7. Mastercard did not communicate with Valve directly, despite our request to do so. Valve's statement sent over email to Kotaku reads the following. Mastercard communicated with payment processors and their acquiring banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve, and we replied by outlining Steam's policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. Payment processors rejected this completely and specifically cited Mastercard's rule of 5.12.7 and risk to the Mastercard brand. Rule 5.12.7 states the following. A merchant must not submit to its acquirer, and a customer must not submit to the interchange system. Any transaction that is illegal or in the sole discretion of the corporation may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negatively on the mark. So it goes well past it being illegal or not illegal. Because if this was just about being illegal, then they wouldn't be going after these games, because these games are not illegal. This is about their image, right? Or at least that's what they're saying it is, right? We need to protect the brands. We need to I guess, deny anything that could reflect negatively on the brands. But honestly, it's about censorship. It's about power. We all know that. But this is the bullshit that they're trying to spin and to tell people is the reason why this is happening. But then it goes on. The sale of a product or a service, including an image, which is patently offensive, keyword, patently offensive, and lacks serious artistic value, such as, by the way, an example of not limitation of images of non-consensual sexual behavior, sexual exploitation of a minor, non-consensual mutilation of a personal body part, and bestiality, or any other material that corporation deems unacceptable to sell in connection with a mark of the brand. Violations of Rule 5.12.7 can result in fines, audits, or companies being dropped by the payment processor. So this is what it is. Right? This is strictly what it is. It is about control and censorship of content, legal, fictional content that they don't like, right? The whole thing about sexual exploitation of a minor, that's not even fucking real, because they're not minors, right? This is not children. There isn't even any games that even look that way, to be honest with you. And if they were, Steam has already handled it in the past. They've already banned games that have went too far. But ultimately, most of this content that is fictional, that usually has to do with anime, by the way, because anime seems to be their target. This has nothing to do with legal or not legal. This has to do with, this makes me uncomfortable, or this is a bad look for our brand. We're not going to allow you to use payment processing, they're not going to allow you to use our mark, basically, by buying these games, right? Steam is very strict on their rules when it comes to uploading content like this. But again, they're continuing to push this narrative about think of the children. Think of the children. We're trying to save the children from child abuse. What child? You guys haven't even been able to name one child that was abused by Steam. Not a single one, because you don't have any, right? It's all about the perception. It's all about the idea of, oh, we need to make it look like this so we can convince people to give up, their rights to legal content that they should be allowed to consume if they want to. But in any case, so this post from Kiwi Farms, again, getting some interesting traction. We got CJ Stott says, help understand something. You can use MasterCard on OnlyFans and other porn sites, but not for video game with cartoon boobies. How does this make any sense? And this actually makes perfect sense to me in terms of what he's saying, right? How is it that you are allowed to use MasterCard or Visa for porn websites that feature real people, real women that, by the way, are in some very questionable porns, okay? Very questionable porns, all about non-consensual too, by the way, which ironically is very popular on a lot of websites. Non-consensual porn is very popular, and yet you're allowed to use Visa and MasterCard with real people. But when it comes to video games, when it comes to anime characters, suddenly it's a problem. Suddenly now, oh, we need to think of the children. What the fuck is that? But in any case, let's keep going. So keep in mind, Savvy, okay, calling out Collective Shout, which I love to see. Honestly, it's a beautiful thing. Savvy is continuing to call out Collective Shout because everybody is trying to pass off blame. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but everybody is trying to pass off blame to each other, right? So MasterCard, those that want to they don't want to take blame. They want to pass it off to the platforms and say it was the platforms that made this decision. It wasn't us. We allow everything legal. Collective Shout wants to take credit for it, but ultimately they want to say, well, it's just the platforms enforcing their TOS. It wasn't us that actually took them down. Everybody wants to pass off blame. Savvy's not letting them pass off blame. So Savvy says, oh, you're not posting this on the main? Interesting. She's quote tweeting MasterCard, which, by the way, MasterCard did not post this particular clarification on their main page. They posted it on the MasterCard news page. It's not even the main MasterCard page, ironically, right? But in any case, it says Collective Shout takes responsibility for contacting payment processors after admitting to emailing Steam for months, only for Steam to not reply. Steam changes its rules, adds in a line about payment processor providers, and only then does anything get removed, which was previously sold and perfectly fine. Collective Shout staffer Kennedy insults you, claiming you need them to help you enforce your rules. Might want to publicly state that they had no influence if this wasn't the case. Every single Dojin shop or website to enact censorship lists you by name, by the way. Every single website that has had an issue with content that is legal has name dropped MasterCard, or at least partially MasterCard, Visa. They've name dropped these companies as the reason why this is happening, and they have the audacity to tell you that they're not doing that, right? They straight up lying to your fucking face, and they expect people to believe it. So Savvy says, no one believes you. You have done this well before 2016, but I posted a little timeline from then till now about your terror-inducing reign. And from that same Collective Shout timeline post, they boast about one single female gamer supporting their cause instead of how many female gamers are opposing them, laughing my ass off. And then if you look here, scrolling through, Savvy was actually one of the original ones that found this particular rule. The rule of 5.12.7, whatever it was. She talked about this a couple of days ago when she was doing her deep dive. She said the very rule that I went and found myself after reading 420 pages of their online PDF. And shout out to Savvy for reading 420 pages of this absolute fucking nonsense. It's insanity, right? And keep in mind, one more thing I want you guys to understand just how deep all of this goes, okay? You guys remember the whole age verification nonsense that has been happening in the UK that is trying to make its way all across the world. It's trying to become a global thing. Well, keep in mind, I keep telling you guys there are snakes in the grass. I keep telling you there are people out there that will sell you to the government if they could get paid for it. They will absolutely stab you in the back if they had any opportunity. Well, here's a beautiful thing. Savvy managed to find that they're in fact paying influencers. They're paying influencers to promote the entire Online Safety Act in the UK. They're actually paying people to promote this shit. It says it might be time to have a very close look at what some supporters are putting into their descriptions. Is this the only example, or can we find more? This person, Alex Armstrong, finds that people, it says expose, Ofcom are paying influencers to spread propaganda about the Online Safety Act in the UK. Orwell's 1984 isn't just here, it's in full motion. Thank you to Dr. Hohen Derkamp for bringing this to my attention. When you look at this picture here, check this out. Olivia Bentley K over at TikTok. I'm assuming this is TikTok or Instagram. If you look, this is what her post says, right? As of the 25th of July, anyone trying to access pornography online will have to prove they are over 18. This is not to ruin anyone's fun, but it's about time that children are protected online. There is an enormous amount of content out there, but some of it is content that is made for adults and not children. This is just the start of trying to make the internet a safer space. And by law, they have to acknowledge whether or not they were paid to advertise that or not. And when you look at the bottom left, what does it say? This is an advertisement. This is an advertisement. They're literally paying this person to spread this absolute bullshit about the Online Safety Act. This is how deep all of this goes. Just keep that in mind. This is literally deeper than I think anybody can honestly possibly imagine. And the beautiful thing is that this is going to just continue to be exposed more and more and more as we go through this and continue to talk about it. It's absolutely insane stuff. So again, guys, just keep in mind when you're looking at TikTok and you're looking at Instagram, I think this might be Instagram, when you're looking at all this stuff, keep a record of all this, right? If you see people, because again, by law, they have to put advertisement if they're paid for, right? So if you see any of this stuff, please make sure that you screenshot it, right? Spread it out to all your favorite content creators. Get involved. You know how many people are tagging me on Twitter, telling me about all kinds of stuff. This is how I find all this stuff because it's hard for me to do it all by myself. And the same goes for all the other content creators out there. So keep tagging us, keep letting us know what's going on. And we're going to get it out there because what they're doing right now is insane. The fact that they're paying people to put this on Instagram, knowing that this is going to go out to children and they're getting lied to every single day, or go out to adults that are getting lied to every single day. It's unbelievably insane stuff. So let me know what you guys think about all of this that we talked about. Mastercard statement, Kiwi Farms with Kotaku, the Savvy stuff, the Instagram stuff with the advertisement. Let me know in the comments of this video, what do you think about all of this? Thank you guys so much for watching the video. And if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We are trying desperately to get to 100,000 subscribers. If you could subscribe, if you enjoy the content, I would greatly appreciate it. And like the video as well. And I'll see you guys on the next one.